My name is Julie Hensley, and on the day my sister Amanda got everything she ever wanted, I got a check for $500 and a whisper that shattered me. That's all you deserve. That moment, surrounded by laughter, clinking glasses, and my mother's cold smile, made me realize the family I spent my life loving never saw me as one of their own. But this isn't just a story of heartbreak. It's about how I left with nothing and came back with everything. Before we dive in, where are you watching this from? Let me know in the comments. And if you've ever been made to feel like you're not enough by your own family, you're not alone. It happened on a crisp fall evening, the kind where the wind feels charged with something unspoken. My sister Amanda was getting married at the Fairmont Grand. Yes, that Fairmont, with chandeliers the size of small planets and enough orchids to put Versailles to shame. Guests floated around in designer gowns and tailored tuxedos, champagne flutes in hand. Every detail was flawless. And I, Julie, the older sister, was seated at table 19, farthest from the head table next to the coat check. Literally, Amanda was glowing. She always glowed. Our mother, Evelyn, beamed at her like she hung the stars herself. And when it was time for the toast, Evelyn stood up in front of 300 guests and said, "Amanda, you've always made us proud. You deserve every bit of this day." She didn't look at me once. Then came the envelope. Just before the cake cutting, my mother approached me with a tight smile, handed me a plain white envelope, and leaned in. Her voice was soft, surgical. "That's all you deserve." Inside was a check for $500. No note. No thank you. Just my name and that number, as if it were a generous gift and not the final nail in the coffin of every wound I'd buried under years of pretending. Amanda had just bragged about her $250,000 wedding fund. Said it loud, right in front of our relatives. "Mom and Dad made it happen," she laughed. "Because I'm their investment." Their investment. I sat there, invisible and burning, watching people raise glasses to Amanda's beauty, her success, her perfect new husband, while I swallowed down the bitter taste of being treated like a stray at my own sister's wedding. Noah, my partner, leaned over and asked gently, "You okay?" I smiled, small and hollow. "We're leaving," I whispered. "Tonight," because I couldn't take one more toast, one more sideways glance, one more moment pretending I hadn't just been written out of my own family's story. When we walked out of that ballroom, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just took Noah's hand and let the silence between us do the talking. Have you ever stood in a room full of people you grew up with and realized not one of them would notice if you left? That was the moment everything changed. There was no dramatic exit. Just the slow shuffle of tired feet down the hallway of a hotel we couldn't really afford, 2 suitcases between us, and the weight of a family I had just realized was never mine to begin with. It was nearly midnight when we left the Fairmont. The valet didn't even blink when I handed him the wedding favor bag and said flatly, "I won't be needing this." Inside the car, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared ahead while Noah drove, my hands clenched in my lap like I was holding something precious. Maybe I was. Maybe in that moment I was finally holding myself. We landed in a $70 a night motel somewhere between San Diego and nowhere. A flickering fluorescent sign buzzed above us as we climbed the stairs to our room, past a couple arguing loudly over a vending machine sandwich. Inside, it smelled like bleach and cigarettes. The carpet was stained. The sheets were stiff. And yet, for the first time in my life, I felt free. I barely slept. I stared at the ceiling for hours, thoughts unraveling in a slow, unrelenting stream. Why did she do it? Why give Amanda the world and hand me $500 in a blank envelope? Was it punishment for being the one who left home first? For not needing them like Amanda always had? Or was it simpler than that? Maybe they just never wanted me. In the morning, Noah handed me coffee in a cup that said "World's Okayest Guest." I snorted. "Figured it matched the vibe," he said, cracking a smile. We sat on the edge of the bed, cross-legged like teenagers, the window open just enough to let in the sound of a train groaning somewhere in the distance. "I don't know where we're going," I said, staring into the brown swirl of my cup. "Does it matter?" he asked. "We're not where we were." That line stuck with me. We're not where we were. We had nothing but 2 suitcases, a shared checking account with just over $600, and a plan that barely deserved the name. but we had each other. And that morning, that was enough. Austin came up like a dare. Jobs are booming there, Noah said, tapping away on his phone. Tech startups, marketing gigs, rent's not cheap, but it's doable if we hustle. Hustle I can do, I replied, so we did. We packed up the car again, this time with a printed map, a playlist full of angry 2000s pop, and a granola bar budget. It took 3 days. We slept in the car one night and in a motel that smelled like wet drywall the next. We arrived in Austin on a Wednesday. The sun was unforgiving. So was the rent. We found a 1-bedroom walk-up above a panaderia. The air conditioning rattled like it was dying. But the smell, oh, the smell. Cinnamon. Butter. Warm bread that made you believe in second chances. The apartment had roaches. The faucet dripped. The shower ran lukewarm. It was perfect. Noah signed up for freelance coding gigs, scrolling through listings like he was hunting treasure. I pounded the pavement in heels too tight, resume in hand, walking into offices with trembling hope and a ready smile. On our 3rd day, I landed an interview at a mid-sized tech firm. Junior marketing associate. Entry-level pay. Long hours. No benefits for 90 days. Do you know how to build a full-stack brand campaign? The woman asked. No, I said, honest to a fault. But I can learn faster than anyone you've ever met. She raised an eyebrow. You're hired. Let's see if you can back that up. I texted Noah immediately after. We're in. That night, we celebrated with a $5 pizza and 2 cans of generic soda on the floor of our empty apartment. The window was open, the city buzzing outside. For the first time in forever, I wasn't holding back tears, I was holding hope. We'll build from scratch, I whispered. Noah clinked his can against mine. But we'll build it together. I didn't even unpack my heels. I just lined them along the baseboard like a reminder of the person I used to be and the one I was becoming. There was no room in our new world for pretending, and certainly no room for vanity. Just grit, hustle, and ramen. The first few weeks in Austin were a blur of hours and exhaustion. My job started at 8 a.m., but I left by 6:30 every morning, walking 2 blocks to catch the number 7 bus downtown. I'd wedge myself between commuters in stiff blazers and half-drunk coffee cups, trying to psych myself up before stepping into the glass tower where I was a nobody with everything to prove. The junior marketer role wasn't glamorous. I wrote product blurbs, created spreadsheets, scheduled social posts, and fetched coffee during meetings where no one remembered my name. But I listened. I learned. And every night I brought that learning home to Noah. We were building something quietly, carefully in the seams of our tired days. Noah's freelance work was unpredictable. Some weeks, he had steady gigs fixing bugs and rebuilding UX flows. Other weeks, we were scraping pennies and hoping his next pitch would land. We took turns being the strong one. I'd come home after a brutal day, finding him sprawled on the floor with an old laptop open, eyes bloodshot but hopeful. Client finally responded, he'd say, grinning. They're in. Other nights, I'd collapse on the mattress and stare at the ceiling, feeling useless and invisible, and he'd crawl beside me with a bowl of instant noodles and whisper, We're not stuck. We're just starting. We cooked on a single hot plate. Our pantry was a plastic bin filled with off-brand cans and bulk rice. Dinner was a rotation of noodle packs and egg sandwiches. Sometimes, when we wanted to feel fancy, we splurged on frozen dumplings and called it date night. Our studio was tiny, barely room for both of us to stand in the kitchen at the same time. But there was laughter. There was love. And there was this strange, stubborn joy in knowing that no one could take any of it away from us. Some nights we sat on the floor eating dinner with our backs against the wall, knees touching, laptop open as we watched YouTube videos on branding, business strategy, and startup case studies. Homework, Noah called it. I feel like we're reverse engineering a future, I said once. We are, he replied. Every empire starts in someone's garage. I smiled, but I didn't say it out loud. Our garage would have to wait. 3 months in, I got promoted to campaign assistant. A minor step, but to me, it felt like Everest. My manager, Jessica, handed me a stack of analytics reports and said, I want your eyes on these. I've noticed you don't just copy-paste, you think. That night, I brought those reports home and spent hours breaking them down, circling patterns, color-coding insights, rewriting headlines in my notebook. Noah watched me with quiet pride. "I wish they could see you now," he said. I shook my head. "I don't need them to. I just want to prove to myself I belong." Noah touched my cheek. "You don't need to belong anywhere, Jules. You're building the place where you do." That line stayed with me. Every time I felt doubt creep in, the whisper of my mother's voice, Amanda's smug smile, I'd repeat it like a shield. "You're building it." It wasn't easy. There were setbacks. We had a plumbing disaster that soaked half our clothes. One of Noah's biggest clients ghosted him mid-project. I once forgot to save a presentation and had to recreate it overnight from memory. But we never gave up. We just kept going, because what we were creating was ours. They called it the moonshot pitch. It wasn't supposed to be mine. Technically, I was still the campaign assistant, barely a rung above intern. My job was formatting decks, running analytics, and being invisible in meetings. But when David, our senior strategist, called in sick the night before a major client pitch, the whole office panicked. Jessica, my manager, paced the floor holding the briefing binder like it was radioactive. "We're dead without someone who knows this file." And then she looked at me. "Julie," she said, her voice sharper than usual. "You've been shadowing this campaign, right?" I nodded cautiously. "Can you take this?" My brain stalled. "Take it, as in present. You know the client. You understand their pain points. If you bomb, it's my head, but I'm willing to risk it." I blinked. "You're serious?" "Deadly, you've got 14 hours. Impress me." That night, our tiny apartment became a war room. Noah cleared the floor, made tea, and sat beside me as I covered every surface with printouts, mock-ups, and scribbled concepts on index cards. My laptop whirred with tabs open to branding guides, user reviews, and competitor strategies. "I need a hook," I muttered, tugging at my hair. "Something they'll remember when they forget the deck." Noah leaned back on his elbows, watching me with calm eyes. "Why did you say yes?" I stopped. "Because no one's ever handed me a spotlight before, and I hesitated. "I think I might know how to use it." He smiled. "Then make them see what you see." The next morning, I stood outside the conference room with trembling hands, wearing a blazer I'd scored from a thrift rack and shoes 2 sizes too tight. Inside, the startup's CEO, 2 VPs, and our firm's senior leadership. No pressure. I took a breath, then stepped inside. The pitch wasn't perfect. I stumbled once, lost my train of thought halfway through a slide, and had to flip back awkwardly. But then I found my pace. "You're not selling software," I said firmly, gesturing toward the brand map I had redesigned from scratch. "You're selling calm in the middle of chaos. You're selling trust." When I finished, there was silence. Then the CEO leaned forward. "She gets it." That night, after we got the call that we'd landed the account, the firm's biggest that quarter, I sat frozen at my desk, unsure whether to laugh or cry. Jessica appeared beside me, tossed a stress ball into my lap, and said, "You ever thought about starting your own shop?" I blinked. "I'm barely out of the break room." "You've got vision," she said simply. "Not a lot of people do. Maybe don't waste it waiting for permission." That line cracked something open in me. That evening, Noah and I sat on a rooftop bar in downtown Austin, 2 cocktails and half a taco between us. The air smelled like grilled corn and ambition. "I think I want to build something," I told him. He smiled, slow and certain. "Then let's build. You don't even know what it is yet." "I know enough. You're in it, and we do good work together." We tossed around names, brainstormed services, imagined our future office space, half joking, half dreaming. I sketched a logo on a napkin. Noah mapped out a skeleton budget. We had 0 capital, no clients of our own, and only 1 desk between us, which was actually a coffee table. But that night, it didn't matter. We were architects of something no one could see yet. Hope was our raw material. By the time we walked home, the idea had taken root. Silver thread, that's what we'd call it. Because even in a life full of chaos and unraveling, we believed in the thin, shining line that held things together. The one you weave with when you've got nothing else left. It started in a garage. No grand opening. No investors. No welcome to Silver Thread balloons. Just an old fold-out table, a whiteboard we dragged up from someone's curb, and a second-hand office chair that wheezed every time Noah leaned back in it. But it was ours. The garage belonged to the duplex we just moved into, a rental barely bigger than our old place. But it came with the holy grail of space, a detached garage with working outlets and enough room for 2 people and a dream. On our first official day, Noah taped a piece of paper to the garage wall. He'd written in thick black marker, "Every empire starts here." I stared at it and laughed. "You know this is technically just your handwriting on printer paper, right?" He smirked. "Vision board." We were building Silver Thread, a boutique tech marketing firm dedicated to early-stage startups. Our niche, human-first branding that didn't feel like copy-pasted jargon. We knew the market, we knew the gap. We just didn't know how the hell to get clients. "I've got a spreadsheet of startups in the Austin area," I told Noah that morning, sitting on the garage floor with my laptop. "I figure I can cold email 100 a day until someone bites." "I'll design the website," he said. "Simple, fast, clean. It'll make us look bigger than we are." We were small, tiny, microscopic. But every morning I woke up knowing we had a purpose. Not to prove anything to my family, but to prove something to ourselves. I wrote until my fingers ached. Pitches, proposals, cold intros, case studies based on hypothetical campaigns. I repurposed my portfolio from my previous job, wrote blog posts under the company name, and posted them everywhere I could. LinkedIn, Reddit, Twitter. Noah worked late into the night debugging our landing page and sketching out potential pricing models on the back of our old ramen receipts. There was something beautiful about the grind. Something oddly luxurious in pouring every waking moment into something you believe in, even when it hasn't believed in you yet. Our friends thought we were brave. Or crazy. Probably both. "You're seriously working out of a garage?" My old coworker Alyssa texted me. "Yeah," I replied. "It's the best office I've ever had." We ate dinners on the floor of the garage those first few weeks, surrounded by cables and campaign notes. I burned a frozen lasagna once because I forgot it was in the oven. Noah took a client call while standing on a milk crate for better signal. But every day something shifted. A click here, a reply there. A startup founder emailed back, intrigued. Then another. One of them, an AI tool startup, let us pitch. We landed the project. It wasn't a big job, but it paid $1,500. Noah danced in the driveway when the check cleared. "This is it," he grinned. "We're officially a business." We celebrated with tacos from the food truck down the block and sparkling cider from the dollar store. I wore lipstick for the first time in months. Noah ironed his shirt, sort of. Under the moonlight, in a folding chair beside the garage, I whispered, "Every empire starts in a garage, right?" He smiled and clinked his paper cup against mine. "Right." Silver Thread was more than a business. It was our second shot at everything. At dignity. At control. At proving that just because no one gave you a seat at the table didn't mean you couldn't build your own damn table from scratch and stain it with midnight hours and sweat. We still had no funding. No team. No safety net. But we had fire. And every email that came in with a "yes, let's talk" felt like another brick on our foundation. A few weeks in, I sent our first invoice with a shaky hand. Not because I wasn't sure of the value, but because it felt surreal. People were paying us. For something we created. For something we owned. Amanda's voice echoed faintly in my memory. Her laugh. Her wedding toast about starting strong thanks to her parents' fund. Their applause. And here I was in a dusty garage with a $20 chair and a client who trusted us, not because we were someone's chosen children, but because we earned it. No more handouts. No more crumbs. Just vision, grit, and 2 people who believed in building a life they were never handed. It started with a tweet. A client tagged us in a thread about the launch of their new app. Just a single line. Couldn't have done it without the branding brilliance of its Silver Thread Co. By morning, our inbox had 9 new inquiries. By the end of the week, 43. We'd gone from cold pitching strangers to turning people away. Noah stared at the email queue one morning and muttered, "We're gonna need help." "Help!" I laughed, still wearing my mismatched pajamas, a spoonful of yogurt halfway to my mouth. "We don't even have chairs for guests." He wasn't joking. "I'm serious. You're booked out 2 months. I'm juggling 3 builds and a UI audit. We need a project manager, a designer, something. I stared at him, slowly setting the yogurt down. We were drowning in the best possible way. The garage wasn't enough anymore. That weekend, we toured 3 tiny office spaces downtown. All of them smelled vaguely like carpet glue and ambition. The last one, a glass-walled unit on the 3rd floor of a mid-rise, felt too big, too clean, too real. I walked through the empty room in silence. The windows overlooked the city skyline, and for a second I saw a flash of something that stopped me cold. Amanda, in her bridal gown, sipping champagne, toasting to a life bought with approval. And me here, no handouts, no spotlight, but still standing. Noah came up behind me. Too soon. I shook my head, voice caught in my throat. No, it's time. 2 weeks later, Silver Thread officially moved out of the garage and into the downtown Austin office. We bought second-hand desks, rolled in chairs from Craigslist, and hired our first freelancer, Jade, a brilliant but quiet graphic designer who clicked with our energy instantly. During our first team meeting, I brought donuts, Noah made coffee, and we stood in a circle because we didn't have a proper table yet. I raised my cup. To the company built on love, grit, and a total lack of handouts. They laughed, but I meant every word. That day I stepped outside for a moment, alone, coffee in hand, and just stood. The wind was different up here, clean, open. I looked down at the street full of people rushing past and thought, you did it, Jules, you made your own world. I hadn't spoken to my mother in over a year. Amanda even longer. There were moments, quiet, unguarded ones, when I missed the idea of family. The version of us I used to imagine when I was little. Before the hierarchies were obvious. Before favoritism became a fact of life. But I didn't miss the pain, or the silence, or the feeling that no matter what I built, it would never be enough for them to see me. Here, in this office built with late nights and unshakable love, I was enough. One afternoon, I bumped into an old college friend, Shayna, at a cafe down the street. Julie, she gasped. I saw your firm's name in that funding article last week. Are you serious? You built that? I smiled. We did. She leaned in, wide-eyed. Your sister's wedding photos showed up in my feed last month. The caption said she's separated now, something about finances. I paused mid-sip. Oh, I said carefully. I hadn't heard. And I hadn't, but that night back home on the couch, Noah sat next to me reading emails as I processed the unexpected turn. Do you think she's okay? I asked softly. He looked up. Do you care? I don't know, I admitted. I guess part of me always will. He reached over, took my hand. Just be careful, Jules. Nostalgia makes betrayal feel forgivable, but it doesn't make it disappear. I nodded slowly. He was right. Sometimes growth looks like success. And sometimes it looks like not reaching out. It started with a knock, not a phone call, not a text, not even an email. Just a knock at the office door, 3 taps, light but deliberate, right as Jade was leaving for lunch and Noah was on a call in the back. I looked up from my desk, heart thudding without warning. And there they were, Amanda and my mother, standing in the doorway of my business like it was the most natural thing in the world. Amanda had a designer purse slung too casually over one arm, her blonde hair styled in loose waves that had clearly taken effort. My mother wore her signature pearl earrings, the ones I'd always associated with Christmas dinners and warnings whispered through gritted teeth. I didn't move. Julie, Amanda said brightly, stepping forward. Oh my God, it's so cute in here. My mother followed, her smile stretched too tight. We were in the area, thought we'd pop in, finally see what you've built. Pop in, like this was brunch. I stood slowly. How did you even know where? A friend of a friend, Amanda interrupted. Shayna, maybe, of course. My mother glanced around the office with the cold efficiency of a home inspector. Glass walls, minimalist furniture, very trendy. Noah appeared then, sensing the shift in the air. He paused when he saw them, his eyes flicking to mine. Everything okay? I nodded once. We're fine. Amanda turned to him with that performative brightness she'd mastered in our teens. Hi, Noah, wow, it's been forever. You look great. He offered a tight smile but said nothing. We just came to say hi, Amanda went on, and to apologize. I blinked. That word didn't belong in her mouth. It sounded foreign, like she was trying it on for size but hadn't committed to wearing it. I know things got tense, she continued, clasping her hands like a remorseful pageant queen. After the wedding, and I guess we just want to move forward. Let bygones be bygones. My mother nodded solemnly as if this entire visit was some sacred peace offering. Julie, she said, stepping closer, I've been thinking a lot about you, about family, about second chances. Something flickered behind her eyes, softness maybe, or strategy, I couldn't tell. And now that you're doing so well, she added almost too smoothly, it's time we came back together, don't you agree? There it was, the real reason, not the apology, not the family reunion fantasy. They'd seen the article, the funding round, the LinkedIn congratulations. Someone had told them Silver Thread was successful, and suddenly I was worth a visit. A flash of that wedding day came roaring back. Me at table 19. The envelope, that's all you deserve. And now I was worth a tour. Would you like to see the conference room? I asked evenly, my voice controlled. Amanda lit up. Yes, absolutely. I led them down the short hallway to the glass-walled meeting space, modest but sleek. Noah lingered behind, arms crossed. Amanda circled the room, trailing her fingers along the polished table. So professional, she murmured. My mother sat carefully in one of the chairs. You really made this work, I'm surprised. The condescension was subtle, but not lost. Well, I said, folding my arms, when you start with nothing, you learn how to build. Amanda turned, laughing lightly. Come on, don't be like that, we're happy for you. Thrilled, my mother added, her tone suddenly sharper. And since you're in a position to help, maybe you could advise Amanda, she's going through a rough patch. I met Amanda's eyes. There it was, the gleam of expectation. I'm not looking for a handout, Amanda said quickly. Just maybe some guidance, connections. You've got investors now, right? Maybe you could loop me into something. I didn't answer right away, because my pulse was thudding and my jaw had clenched and I needed to speak carefully. We built this from scratch, I said slowly. Without favors, without shortcuts, and certainly without family support. My mother's smile faltered. Amanda's eyes narrowed. So what? She snapped. You think we're just here to mooch off you? I tilted my head. Aren't you? The silence cracked. My mother stood abruptly. This is what happens when you become selfish, Julie. You forget what family means. Amanda's voice trembled. Why don't I have what you have? The words hit me harder than I expected, not because they were cruel, but because I knew what the answer was, and she didn't want to hear it. I opened the door, holding it wide. Thank you for stopping by, I said, each word wrapped in ice. They left without another word. As the door clicked shut, I leaned against it, breathing hard. Noah walked over, silent for a moment. Then he said, they came for money. I nodded. They came for me, but they didn't find the version they expected. He rested a hand on my shoulder. You okay? I smiled faintly. I'm better than okay, I'm clear. That night, the office felt different, like it had been breached. Not physically, nothing was out of place, but emotionally, a thread had been tugged that I'd spent years weaving tightly. I sat at my desk long after the team had gone home, staring at the screen but not seeing it. Amanda's voice echoed like static in my head. Why don't I have what you have? I knew the answer, but it didn't make the sting go away. They didn't come to make peace, I said aloud, though no one was there to hear it. Noah arrived an hour later, a bag of Thai takeout in one hand and a look on his face that told me he'd been thinking about it all day too. They're not done, he said, setting the bag on the table. This wasn't just a one-time thing. I know. We ate quietly, the kind of silence that's filled with heavy thoughts instead of awkwardness. She's going to spin this, he said eventually. You know that, right? She already is, I replied. Amanda doesn't lose quietly, and my mother, she's never been rejected by someone who used to beg for her attention. He looked up. So what now? I leaned back in my chair. We protect the business, we protect our peace, and we draw the line for real this time. The next morning, I met with our lawyer. Not for anything dramatic, just protective. I wanted an education fund set up for Amanda's daughter, my niece. Nothing extravagant, just a seed fund that would grow over time. Something she could use if, when her own mother made her feel small, unwanted, unworthy. No direct access to the adults, I said firmly, sliding the paperwork across the cafe table. The money is for the child only. I don't want my name on it. Just make sure she gets the chance. My lawyer nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. This isn't common. I know, I said, but it's right. That night I told Noah. He stared at me, eyes softening. You're incredible. I'm done helping adults who refuse to grow, I said quietly, but I won't let the next generation inherit that same cruelty. He kissed my forehead. She'll never know what you did. I don't need her to. He nodded, and for the first time since their visit, I felt peace. Not the shaky peace of avoidance, but the real kind. The kind you earn when you finally, truly, choose your own values over someone else's guilt trip. It didn't stop the messages. Texts started showing up on my phone like clockwork. From Amanda, "I can't believe you turn your back on your own blood." From my mother, "After all we've done for you, this is how you repay us." The worst ones were the cryptic posts Amanda began sharing online. Photos of our childhood with captions like, "Some sisters forget where they came from." Vague complaints about betrayal, family fractures, greedy success stories. It was passive-aggressive warfare dressed in nostalgia and guilt, but I didn't reply, not once. Noah would glance at my phone whenever the buzz came through. "You sure you don't want to say something?" "I already did," I answered. "The moment I built a life without them." Still, the pressure built, like a pressure cooker with the lid welded shut. At a company press event, where we were celebrating Silver Thread's acquisition of a boutique UX studio, someone from the local business journal pulled me aside. "I heard your family visited the office," she said lightly. "There's a bit of chatter, nothing concrete, but it's out there." I didn't flinch. I just smiled. Every success story has a backstory, and not everyone likes their supporting role. That night, I sat down at my desk with Noah and opened a blank document. We drafted a letter. No threats. No drama, just a clear, final boundary. "To Amanda and Mom, I owe you nothing. Not because you aren't family, but because you never treated me like I was. You taught me that love had strings. That worth had to be earned. That visibility was only for those who played your game. I've built a life rooted in something better, and I'm choosing that life now. This is not an argument, it's a conclusion. Blood isn't a bond, behavior is. Goodbye." Noah read it, then looked at me. "You ready?" I nodded, then hit send and blocked every number. The quiet didn't last. For a few days, I almost believed it had. My inbox calmed. My phone stayed silent. The weight I'd carried for so long, the tension of being pulled between guilt and independence, began to lift. Then the stories started. It began subtly. A post from Amanda on Facebook with a baby photo of us. "Some sisters choose money over memories. Pray for those who forget where love began." Then a filtered selfie of her with our mother, captioned, "Some of us still know the meaning of family, even if others have forgotten." I scrolled past them the way you'd pass a car wreck, unwilling to look, unable to resist. At first, I tried to ignore it. But then came the messages. Not from them, I'd already blocked every number, but from mutual acquaintances. College friends, distant cousins, people I hadn't spoken to in years. "Hey, is everything okay with your sister? She posted something kind of intense. I saw your mom's status, are you guys fighting?" Someone even commented under a Silver Thread team post. "Shame what success does to people. Money doesn't replace roots." I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just felt cold. Like the betrayal had slipped past my skin and frozen somewhere near my spine. "This is slander," Noah said, reading over my shoulder. "Or at least dangerously close. She's not naming me directly. She's hinting hard enough. She's trying to control the narrative." He turned to me, jaw clenched. "So let's give her the real one." I hesitated. I wasn't the revenge type, but something had shifted. I was no longer the girl waiting at table 19, wondering if she'd imagined the cruelty. I was a founder, a creator, a woman who had clawed her way out of erasure and silence and built something lasting from the pieces. And now I was ready to speak. Not in pettiness, not in anger, but in truth. We started gathering everything. I pulled up the text messages, the emails, the screenshots of Amanda's complaints, the dismissive language, the financial digs. I found the photo of the check from my mother. "That's all you deserve." Noah archived every digital trace into a neat folder labeled receipts. We didn't plan to post it. Not at first. But we knew it was time to control the story, publicly, strategically, and with grace. That week, I was scheduled to speak at a Women in Tech Leadership Conference in LA. The event coordinator asked if I'd share our company's origin story during the keynote. At first, I wrote the same safe speech I'd given at 2 other events. Growth numbers, campaign success, a few jokes about starting in a garage. But it felt hollow now. Polished. sanitized. This time I wanted to tell the truth. When I took the stage, the room buzzed with energy. Hundreds of women, some founders, some dreamers, some survivors, stared up with expectation. I took a breath and began. Silver Thread didn't start with an idea. It started with a $500 check. That was my gift at my sister's wedding, handed to me by my mother while the bride bragged about her $250,000 celebration. I sat alone that night at a table in the back of the ballroom, watching a family I was never truly part of toast to themselves, without ever seeing me. And I realized if I wanted a future, I had to stop asking permission to exist. You could have heard a pin drop. I wasn't handed opportunity. I built it in a garage with my partner and a dream no one else could see. I wasn't given a seat at the table. I built a new one, and now I invite others to join me, not because I want revenge, but because I believe no one should have to prove they're worthy of love, respect, or dignity just to be seen. The applause was deafening. Afterward, women came up to me with tears in their eyes, clutching notebooks, thanking me for saying what they hadn't had the courage to voice. I wasn't just building a brand anymore. I was building a truth. When I got back to Austin, I posted a clip from the speech. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't name names, but I let the words speak, and people listened. The passive-aggressive posts from Amanda stopped almost immediately. The mutuals who'd once sent me vague, "What's going on?" messages started sending DMs that said, "I'm sorry I didn't understand." Even distant relatives started following our business page, liking every post without comment. It wasn't revenge, it was clarity, and it was enough. Back in Austin, the air felt different. Maybe it was the fall breeze drifting through our neighborhood, or maybe it was the way peace settles in not as a crash or a climax, but a gentle hush after a storm that lasted far too long. The conference speech had gone viral within our niche. Not millions of views, but thousands of right ones. Women who emailed, messaged, shared their own stories. One read, "I was the Julie in my family too. Thank you for giving us language." Another, "You helped me leave a job where I was table 19 every single day." I read each message like a balm, for every cold look I'd endured, for every dismissive smirk, for every moment I'd asked myself if I was imagining the cruelty. But that chapter was closed now, and I was ready to begin another. Noah came home one afternoon carrying a tall paper bag and a mischievous grin. "You busy?" I looked up from my laptop. "Is that a rhetorical question?" He pulled out a pot. Inside was a magnolia sapling, barely 2 feet tall. Its leaves shimmered dark green in the light, fragile but bold. "A tree?" I asked, smiling. He nodded. "For her." We hadn't said it out loud yet, not really. We'd only just found out a few weeks ago, a pink plus sign on a stick, a breathless ultrasound, and a heartbeat so small it felt like a secret between worlds. Our daughter, our daughter. "She'll never have to earn her place," I said softly, brushing my fingers across a leaf. "Nope," Noah agreed. "She'll be planted in it." We picked a spot in the backyard, right beneath the arch of light that hit our patio around 3 o'clock every day. The ground was stubborn, dry from the last heat wave, but we worked together, digging, turning, softening. As we planted the tree, I felt something shift. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't cinematic. It was true. We weren't just rejecting the legacy we came from. We were building a new one. That night, we sat on the back porch, watching the sky fade to dusk. "I've been thinking," I said quietly, "about what we're going to teach her." Noah looked over. "What do you mean?" I turned toward him, hand resting over the small swell beneath my sweatshirt. "I want her to know that love has no ledger, that she never has to be useful to be worthy, that her voice isn't something she needs to earn. She'll know," he said, "because she'll see it every day." The wind rustled the young magnolia leaves. For the first time in my life, I felt safe. Not safe because there was no threat, but safe because I finally trusted myself to walk away from anything that didn't feel like love. And more than that, I was learning to offer it to someone else, without needing them to prove anything back. We didn't announce the pregnancy with a glowing post or a studio photo shoot. We told our team over lunch with a tray of pink frosted cupcakes and a note that read, "Silver Thread is getting a tiny new partner." Jade cried, Noah blushed, and I laughed loud, free, full. Later that week, I got a call from my lawyer. The education fund for Amanda's daughter had officially been finalized. Anonymous as requested, he said. I thanked him, then sat for a long time just staring at the corner of my desk. I wondered what my niece would grow up believing. Would she inherit the weight of shame, the hierarchy, the silent punishments for speaking out? Or would she find her own way? I couldn't rewrite her story. But I could plant something in the soil. A chance. A door left slightly ajar. And maybe one day she'd walk through it and know someone thought she was worth it, even when no one else did. 5 years later, the magnolia tree touches the second-floor windows of our home office. It's taller than I ever imagined it would be. Its roots deeper, its branches wider. Some mornings, I drink my coffee on the porch and stare at it like it's a diary entry written in bark. A living memory of who we were. And everything we dared to grow past. Silver Thread has changed, too. We've outgrown 2 office spaces since that first shoebox downtown. Now we lease an entire floor in a historic brick building in East Austin, with exposed beams, frosted glass meeting rooms, and a lobby sign that still makes my breath catch when I walk past it. Silver Thread Creative. Underneath it, in smaller lettering, founded by Julie Ross plus Noah Harper. Sometimes people ask if we're co-founders or a married couple first. I always answer the same way: we're builders first. We built this life before anyone gave us permission. On Tuesdays, we host Threadlines, a mentorship program we started for women in tech, especially those without a support system. College students, young mothers, survivors, people who were told you're not quite right for the industry or the world. In our most recent session, one woman stood up and said, "I almost didn't apply. I saw the office photos and thought, people like me don't belong there." I looked her dead in the eye and told her the truth. Neither did I until I put myself here. Our team has grown from 2 to 30. Our first investor, who took a chance on us with a handwritten check and a gut feeling, now serves on our board. And in the midst of it all, laughing down the hallway, sticky hands full of crayon drawings and questions no business degree can prepare you for, is my daughter, Riley. She's 4 now. Bold. Curious, loud in the best way. The kind of little girl who asks, why do some people only smile when other people clap for them? I don't always have answers, but I give her truth every time. And when she runs through the Silver Thread office on Fridays, waving hello to designers and engineers like she owns the place, no one blinks. That's just Riley. The heartbeat behind every campaign. Our reminder of what we're really building. One evening, we're interviewed for a business documentary about female founders. A young filmmaker named Sloane sits across from me, camera rolling, lights soft against the walls. She asks, "Julie, what does success look like now?" I think about that for a moment. It's not revenue, not even legacy. It's this. Success means looking at my daughter and knowing she'll never beg to be seen the way I did. It means creating a place where women don't have to check their courage at the door. It means being the kind of leader I needed. When I was 19 and invisible, when I was 26 and underpaid, when I was 30 and finally choosing myself. Sloane doesn't blink. She just says, "Thank you." After she leaves, I walk out to the courtyard where the magnolia tree stands tall in the golden light. Riley is digging in the dirt nearby, wearing overalls and a crown made of glittery pipe cleaners. "Mommy," she says without looking up, "when I grow up, can I build a place like this?" I kneel beside her. "You can build anything, baby." She blinks at me. "Even if I don't ask permission." I smile. "Especially then." She nods once and goes back to building a tiny kingdom of pebbles and sticks. That night, as I tuck her into bed, she wraps her arms around my neck and whispers, "I want to be just like you." I hold her tight and kiss her forehead, thinking about how long it took to believe I was someone worth becoming. And in that moment, I realized something no applause could have taught me. I didn't just survive my story, I rewrote it. And now it lives in her. Have you ever seen your strength reflected in someone else? Someone who didn't know your whole battle but felt your victory anyway? Tell me in the comments. We grow from each other's healing. If this story stayed with you, leave a like and share it with someone who needs to hear. You are not what they withheld. You are what you rise into.